So let's head up towards the mountains. And as soon as we get up into the mountains, let's go to some giant stadium, an arena that's hidden up, tucked away up in the mountains. And as we get up into this arena, we start recognizing people, friends from old. And everybody's playing around with dragons in the center of this arena. They're diving around, they're swimming around with these dragons. They're being held up 50 feet up in the air out of some giant swimming pool by these dragons. And as that goes on, and the night goes on, and everybody's playing around with these dragons, I get kind of tired, and I go out beyond the stage, up in the rafters that overlook the stage, and I fall asleep. Well, somebody starts working. They start working on construction. They're hammering in nails into the studs in the walls. And eventually they made their way up to where I was in the rafters, and I said, "Hey, Max?" Because it was this guy named Max from my childhood. And he said, "Hey, how are you doing?" I said, "Good, how are you doing?" And I said, "Let me try to hit one of those," because I've done construction. And everyone was like, "Bro, we got to tell you something." After I hit this nail in, and everyone was already awake by the time I hit this nail in, they were like, "Either you have to leave or you have to go and sleep in this secret place because somebody's coming up here to this giant get together that doesn't like you." And I thought to myself, weird. Wonder who it is that doesn't like me. I was like, it's almost worth it staying to find out who doesn't like me, and or just going right now. But the only reason to stay would be to figure out who doesn't like me. Well, anyways, everyone starts kind of doing what they were doing the day before with all these dragons and stuff, but the arena's all dried up now. And there's a giant migration going on of all these dinosaurs going through the arena. And we're like, "You guys can migrate." We talked to them. We're like, "You guys can migrate to this arena as long as you don't eat us. You have to be nice." And they said, okay, because there was obviously some catastrophe that was going on that was causing everything to migrate. So they start migrating through the arena. And eventually we find out what the cause of the migration was at like 7 o'clock is when it happened. A giant psychic bear shows up into the arena. And this psychic bear had a backpack full of all these balls that were like toxic balls that if they touched you, they would disintegrate your body and stuff like that. And it was like they ate away layers, right? They ate away layers of like whatever they touched first. So if you had clothes, you could block it with like a shield of like pillows and stuff like that first. But anyways, I got hit on the head by one of these disintegration balls, and he said, "There he goes, he's dead. That's one hit." And the bear can talk now, by the way. And I said, "No, I'm not, because I had a layer of hair first." And he was like, "No, you're dead." And I was like, "No, I'm not." And I kept running around the whole time, and I'm like, "No, I'm not." And so I kept running around for this whole time, like saying that I wasn't dead. And eventually I got pretty close to the guy in the middle and tried to take him out, but he eventually turned into like some possessed being and started channeling like some giant tornadoes overhead that were like sucking everything up into the atmosphere. And so I went into this building, but it got hit by lightning, and then it started all sucking up out into the sky. And then so I went out of the building, went and held onto a tree, then the tree started sucking up, went and held onto another tree, then that tree started sucking up, and then I went and held onto this tool that I found that had been hidden away in the shed, in like this, like under the arena. And I was like holding onto it. And right at that time, he stopped. Something happened, and he got knocked out or something like that, or got taken away. And that was the end. And the tool, I ended up pulling it up out of the ground that I was holding on to, was like an old clipper for toenails of a horse it was like a kid's clippers for a horse. And I was like, oh, this reminds me back at the beginning days of the arena. And that was it. That's the dream.